Welcome to Microsoft Project. I'm Debbie Collins, your instructor for this class. And in this video, we're going to do a brief overview of some project management concepts and an introduction to the Microsoft Project interface. IT personnel work on projects. So if you're a software developer at Blackhawk College a few years ago, you would have worked on a project to bring registration online. Prior to that, registration was done with forms that had to be mailed in. If you're in networking, maybe you worked on a project to help set up a classroom into computer labs. Projects are different than day-to-day operations because they have a length. They start and they end. In addition, it requires you to estimate the cost of the project. Some projects are going to cost too much. You need to know that ahead of time. Management's going to look at the cost of the project and decide if it's worth implementing. And projects, normally you're going to work on a team and not solo on projects. Projects require planning, and Microsoft Project is an excellent planning tool to help you with your project management. At Blackhawk College, we have an advisory board of industry people that work in IT, and they have recommended that Microsoft Project be a part of our curriculum. So while learning Microsoft Project, you should learn some project management concepts. And when you get out in industry, when you're done with college, we're hoping that these project management concepts and that you learn in this class is something you'll be able to apply when you start working on your own projects. Finally, Microsoft Project will also be used in our CIP 260 class, which is a class that has you work on a semester-long team project for a customer. About project management. The first time project management was used was the U.S. Space Mission, and now it's used throughout the corporate world. Right here we have a timeline, and this is an important tool that's used in project management. So let's get some overview of what is a project. And according to the Project Management Institute, a project is a temporary group of activities designed to produce a unique product or a service or a result. So it's temporary, meaning that it has a start date and an end date. It's unique. It's not your routine day-to-day operations. It's managed, and management implies a timeline and implies cost. Projects have a goal. That's one of the first things you do when you're thinking about starting a project is determining the goal of the project. It's called the initializing phase. A project goal should state the desired outcome, short and simple, clearly communicate the scope, the time frame, and the budget. You will be asked to develop a project goal in one of your first discussions. There are 5 process groups in project management. So these are the series of steps that you're going to take when doing a project. So initially, the first step is initiating, and that's, for example, setting the project goal we just talked about earlier. Then there's the planning phase. In the planning phase, you break the big scope of the project into tiny tasks, and you estimate how long each task will take. And you decide, does task 1 have to be done before task 10? Maybe, maybe not. In the executing phase, you're done planning, and now you're working on the project and hopefully staying within what you had planned, but that's not always the case. So the controlling phase and the executing phase kind of are happening at the same time. So in the controlling phase, if you find out, if you said, well, I think laying the network cable is going to take 16 hours, and you find out it actually took 22, what you're going to do is you're going to go update your project so that you have the initial project, which we call the baseline, and the updated project. And your timeline may change. If you're on a tight budget, those extra 6 hours, you actually might even go and look where can you find time to make up those extra 6 hours. When you're done with the project, you're going to close it. 2 key terms that you need to understand when you're getting started in a project are task and resources. A task is an activity, something that's going to be done. And you can break your tasks into smaller subtasks. In fact, you can create like a task hierarchy. So here is an example of a task. A task could be, well, we're going to wire a classroom. And then breaking that into subtasks. So what do we need to wire a classroom? Well, there's the electrical portion, and then there's the network portion. And even that can be broken into more subtasks, calculating the power, installing the poles, installing the conduit, etc. All the tasks needed to be done to create the project then will be put into your entry area in Microsoft Project. We'll take a look at that in a minute. In addition, another key concept is resources. So a resource is a physical item that helps you get the task done. And a resource could be assigned to a task. It could be assigned to many tasks. Many resources could actually be assigned to the same task. So while you're wiring a classroom, if you're going to use 2 electricians to do that, then you could have 2 different resources assigned to the one task. Many times a resource has a cost. So if we know we're going to install the power poles, and we have 2 electricians working on it, and we have a time estimate, we can now start estimating the cost of that portion of the project. So resources could include people, and then it could also include things. So I might need cable. I might need also power poles. You see how this is going to end up building up for us to estimate the cost of our project. In our textbooks, PRJ 7 through PRJ 9 lists some key terms. So do review these. We're going to have some quizzes, and some of these terms may be on the quiz. In addition, I have added to our module a glossary. So you can print that out and review all the many terms that are in the glossary for Tutorial 1. Let's look at the interface of Microsoft Project. So normally when you start a project, you're not going to have all this. This is a project that's got some tasks already in. So this area right here we call the entry table. It looks a lot like Microsoft Excel, okay? So you're going to have columns, okay? And different columns represent different things. So here's the name of a task, and here's how long we think the task is going to take. And you can see the implied hierarchy. Over here is an information column. Okay, and then there are many, many more columns that you can use a scroll bar, so you can scroll back and forth. To the right is what we call a Gantt chart, and the Gantt chart is a visualization of the project. So each of these items are one task, and you can see the duration of the task because up here we have a little timeline. So this is a very short task compared to that. Finally, see the arrows going from task to task? This shows what we call dependencies. So here we're saying when this one is done, then we can start this task. This is known as a finish to start dependency. You can't start this task until that one's done. But it looks like right here, both of these tasks can be done at the same time. Another tool that you're going to find in Microsoft Project is called the Basic Network Diagram. So it's another view of all the tasks. Each of these tasks now are shown in a box. And you'll see the start and the finish date and other information about the task. Once again, you can see the link from one task to the next. Okay? So these are called the dependencies. And it looks like I can actually start 2 different tasks at the same time. Once this task is complete, I can start working on this task and this task both. Here we have the Microsoft Project window, and this is known as the view bar right here. Okay, right here is the view bar. And here's our Gantt chart. There's no data entered yet. Up here, this is our timeline right here. And we'll look at this in a minute. Okay, and this is the Gantt chart. We have no tasks yet. Okay, now the gray areas here are non-working days on the count. So that's probably a Saturday and a Sunday. Okay, here we have our Gantt chart view again, and this is our view bar. Okay, and you can change from view to view to view here. So here is I can click right here and there's our Gantt chart view, and I click right here and there's our network diagram view, and you'll learn about many of these views as we go through the course. We're on the view ribbon, so Project 2010 uses a ribbon, and here are some different task views you can use and different resource views you can use, and we were talking earlier about tasks and resources. Okay. One other thing about when you're in the Gantt chart view, the Gantt chart's over to the right. This is called the entry table. You can slide. If you want to see more of your columns, you're working more in the entry table, you can slide this split bar over by getting the double arrow and just sliding it over. In this, still in the Gantt chart view, and just taking a notice that you have two scales, and you can change this actually. So this is showing a week. This is showing the days of the week here. Okay. And that will be it.